Donkey Kong, yes, believe your eyes. Today we're talking about Donkey Kong, the board game, published in the early 1980s based on the famous arcade game. This is a game that I recently acquired, completely by chance. I wasn't looking for it. I was thinking at some point actually about acquiring a copy. And it just so happens I completed a trade on Board Game Geek for a game that wasn't this one, that had nothing to do with this one, and in the box that I received there were two games, the game that I was trading for and this other game, completely unexpected, as a present I believe. If it was sent to me as a mistake, well, let me know, my friend trader, because actually I'm happy that you sent it to me. Unfortunately I cannot recall the name of the trader, but thank you, the person that sent me this game. Donkey Kong is a game that, well, looks definitely interesting, if nothing else because of the board that really captures the essence of the original video game, and because of this gimmicky toy here, which is unnecessary in terms of gameplay but absolutely vital in terms of atmosphere and in terms of getting kids curious about the game and interested in the game. Yes, today this is a game that may be of interest to collectors that are really into the history of arcade games, but maybe of interest to parents because this is a game that works well when you play with kids. I play with my 5-year-old daughter Amelia and she really enjoys it. So I'm presenting this game to you as an option. If you see a copy out there which is not too expensive and you have a kid, or you simply want to have this toy for yourself as an adult, then, well, maybe you may consider picking up Donkey Kong. How does Donkey Kong work? Donkey Kong, everybody, controls an Italian plumber whose job is to rescue the damsel in distress up there, the fair maiden, as she's called in the game. Am I the only one who thinks that on the cover she looks a little bit like Blondie, the singer? I don't know, maybe just me. Anyhow, here we have our Italian plumbers, and they will try to move a story over one story at a time, going up there to reach the maiden. Well, of course, our iconic big apes throwing barrels at us. Players will have cards of this kind. There are two types of cards, the jump and the hammer, and they have point values. You start with a hand of such cards and you get more cards each time that you stop on an area that has a dot. If you stop on it that has two dots, you get two new cards. Hooray. Stairs are simply normal areas, even though they do connect different levels. So, as you can see, there are barrels on the board, and, well, guess what? You shouldn't touch the barrel or let the barrels roll over you. Also, later in the game, there will be fireballs when a barrel enters this area here. This area here, it turns into a fireball, and fireball will move upwards, well, in this direction, and then upwards, just like barrels, roll down along the system of different interconnected platforms. They roll down, and I'll show you how. Now, so as I said, you will have some of these cards in your hand, more you get as the game progresses. Each turn you roll these two dice. One is a regular D6, then this indicates your movement capability for the turn. The other one is a special die that has a side that says Congress, and another one here that says the same. Then we have a side with a 5, and a side with a 4, and a 5 with a 6, and a side with a 3. This is the die that controls the movement of the barrels, or also indicates if the barrels do not move at all in case Kong rests. Why do the barrels rest too? Don't ask. This is a video game, not a slice of reality. What is this? Am I showing a documentary about the physics of rolling barrels thrown by apes? No, I'm not. Each turn you roll the two dice. The white die indicates your movement, and you can move from one interconnected area to the other. 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. You can move here, up here. It's pretty self-explanatory. As you move, you should try to find a balance between trying to get up as fast as you can, because there's a bonus in being the first player that gets there, but also trying to collect cards, which are vital to survive the ordeal that you're facing, but also to collect points. Suppose that actually I decide to go there with my 3, 1, 2, 3, then hooray, evviva, che bello, I'm an Italian plumber after all, so I'm gonna speak Italian from time to time, and I'm gonna get some new cards. After I move, I need to move all of the barrels on the board, and there are fireballs, they move too. and they all move by the same number, the number that was rolled on the red die. So in this case, for example, I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I go like this for all the other barrels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. So when you move and a barrel ends up exactly on top of a staircase, it goes down right there. Now, if you're on the staircase, you are safe because the barrel rolls over you and doesn't touch you. If you're at the bottom, it still hits you. And if you are here, of course, if you're on a regular platform and the barrel touches you, that also hits you. At that point, you have to spend one of your cards. If you spend a hammer card, then you destroy the barrel, and you take the cards. Usually the cards are face up in front of you, and you put it face down as a way of recording that you played it. You should play it not on the board, but by the board, but this way you still see it. If you play a jump, then the barrel keeps moving and moves past you. And again, also if you use a jump card, you put it down there just as a reminder that you can score it at the end of the game. If the barrels touch you and you do not have cards, there are penalties. Usually you lose cards, but that rarely happens, and that is good. Because this is what I like about this game, what really makes it a good game for kids. Your guy never dies, you're never gonna have to spend a life. Simply what happens is that you may lose cards, but I still have to see that happening. What happens is in truth that people will go around from time to time looking for barrels to jump or to destroy, which is good, which captures somehow the spirit of the game. You also want to score points. So they'll go around looking for barrels to destroy. They still need to be careful not to be hit in case they don't have cards, but again, that's rare. But they need also not to do that too much, not to go around too much hunting for barrels, not to do that to the point of neglecting getting there. Because the first player to get there, as you can see, from there gets 500 points. So the game is pretty simple. The game ends when a player reaches the top of the screen or the board and saves the Fair Maiden, and at that point you score points. Each player scores the points of the jump and hammer cards that they used during the game, plus 500 for the player that got there, and the player with the highest total is the winner of the game. So no complaints, my character died, that's not fair. Your characters are immortal, as they were, well, should be in board games. I'm not for direct player elimination. And I think it was a good idea for the design of this game to turn a video game where you die very easily. I mean, Donkey Kong is one of the most brutal video games that I ever played. This was from the time when games were not about making you feel good about yourself. Wow, I unlocked an achievement. No, they were about taking your money and taking your coins, and therefore these games had to be tough. As a result, they could be very rewarding if you did master them. So it was a good idea for the designer not to capture that aspect of original video games, the brutal aspect, the challenging aspect, but to give you a game that kids could play without feeling bad about themselves. And of course, we need to acknowledge the big ape. This is very important. At the end of the turn, after you moved all of the existing barrels and fireballs, you add a new barrel to the board, and you do that by lowering Donkey Kong's arm. It's like magic, you know, there's a barrel that comes out of his hand, and I don't even know how that happens. Well, I kind of do, but it's all like, oh, so awesome that it still looks like magic to me. Yes, the way you do it, if you put the guy in there, and then that's how you do it. Oh my gosh, it's so fun. It's a great component. It's a great game component. One of the weirdest looking game components, just up there with the strange sword full of balls in Dark World, and with the strange domino guy in Incognito. Sometimes games have strange game components. Maybe at some point I'll open like a Board Game Geek list where people can list games with the strangest and most fun game components. Anyhow, back to us. Super simple, super linear game that kids, at least my kid, my 5-year-old, really likes. Game-wise, it may not be very appealing to adults these days, and you can see the flaws by adult game design standards. For example, yes, it takes a little bit to go through all the barrels and move them every time. The logistical aspect is not the most elegant that there is. But the definitely is fun manipulating these barrels, so kids don't matter moving the barrels around. There is some thinking that even kids have to do into thinking where the barrels may be next time, and if it's a good time now to avoid a barrel or to go look for one. There's a little bit of thinking there to be done, and even the kids have to well, they train, they learn to figure out ways on how to balance different objectives. The objective of seeking for barrels to score points and the objective of getting there and finding a balance between the two. It's a game that has some reason of interest cognitively, even for young kids, but therefore it is fun to play. Materially, it is easy to get, easy to understand. They get to add some numbers at the end when they score points. Definitely, I'll enjoy playing with my daughter. My daughter has enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing with her because it is still a simple, fun, ridiculously looking, visually appealing game. So if you find a copy out there that is not too expensive, and maybe you have a kid, I think actually this is a pretty good game to play with your kid. I definitely enjoy playing it as a game for children. I think that it doesn't feel dated. It doesn't feel like it has completely lost its meaning or uses. Donkey Kong by Milton Bradley from the early 80s. Yes, it's a fun game.